Can you imagine your head contractor gets COVID? Buying a house during the pandemic has been interesting.
Very interesting. And it's going to continue to be interesting even after the pandemic. Quick overview. We bought a house during the pandemic. It was crazy. So let me just tell you what we bought. So we bought a 2-family, multi-family, 3 bedrooms downstairs, 3 bedrooms upstairs, technically 4 if you count it. It's a little weird situation. And then 2 downstairs. Well, technically kind of like 3. So it's kind of like a 4-3, but technically a 3-2. But it works the same way.
Yeah. And when we bought our property, what we bought was not a turnkey property. There was work that needed to be done. We had a lot of renovations that we planned and we had to execute during the pandemic. And the pandemic didn't make it easy.
Yeah, we wasn't expecting. So we actually started looking for our house right before the pandemic started, so in February. So we just got smacked right in the face, with this. So it made it really interesting. So let's just go over a few of those things.
There's actually a different set of pros and cons, and we're gonna go over there are pros and cons of buying in a pandemic. That some of them you may not be aware of. So we'll talk through that.
And even after pros and cons of buying after. Well, I'm calling this time period right now kind of after, since it seems like the new world, or the U.S. at least, is opening back up. But so just from starting from when we bought our house, just visiting homes, man. Visiting homes went from we can get them scheduled to you cannot come. You cannot come and see this house. Not many homes were open for you to come in and visit them.
Absolutely. Even up until when we closed, I remember our real estate agent was awesome, but she couldn't come to closing because she wasn't allowed.
She wasn't allowed. That's
just how it was.
It was a new rule because of the pandemic. Nope, she cannot be there on closing day. Yeah. And then even interest rates were just kept dropping. I remember calling the bank, and every day they just kept giving me a lower rate, and I was not expecting that. I was like, just cause? Okay, wow, I guess this is good. Yeah. Just off of all the stimulus and stuff, and then interest rates dropping, to help the economy. Yeah.
And back when we bought it, we thought that was a fantastic rate, and now it's like, wow, the interest rates have fallen even more.
More in 2021. It's crazy. A lot of them are even lower. I've been seeing people get quotes for insanely low interest rates right now. So it's actually crazy.
Yeah, I'm curious if anybody who's watching this video, did you buy anything during the pandemic in terms of property, and what was your experience? How successful was it? What were the hurdles because of COVID? Leave any and all thoughts in the comments down below. And while you're down there, you might want to hit that like button. Please. I hear it's free.
It's free. Definitely like and subscribe. But let's talk a little bit more about the market right now, which is the seller's market. Oh, man. If you are selling a house right now, you are eating really, really good. Yeah. We've been hearing about houses sell way above market price. In some cases, we've seen $100,000 over market price, which is insane. Insane.
The entire market is just in flux. Yeah. Even from materials, what's interesting? During the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, a lot of materials were very expensive. And now we're seeing reports after reports of different items. I don't know, lumber was in the news recently because it just dropped in price precipitously. And it's just wow, you can see how the pandemic has kind of changed market conditions in terms of renovating properties or building your own property. It's just interesting stuff.
Yeah, and also for buyers, if you're trying to buy right now in 2021, it's also changed market conditions for you guys too. So if you're an FHA buyer right now, it's kind of hard for you because a lot of people are not accepting 5%. They're like, yo, this guy or this girl, this woman is trying to put down 20%, and even some of the people putting down 20%. Yo, this person has cash. This person's trying to buy the house cash. So if you're in real estate or if you're trying to buy a house right now, you have to be very mindful of those things. It's really hard. People are bidding, and a lot of sellers are not taking FHA buyers, or sometimes in some cases may not even taking the person who's trying to put 20% down, because some people have cash. So it's an interesting market right now in 2021. It wasn't this crazy when we bought ours in 2020, but it's just been getting crazier and crazier because of how things are going.
And that's a good segue into one of the pros, because we just talked about the interest rate being low as a major pro. The other pro was there was just less competition. Yeah. There was just less competition during the peak of the pandemic, because that's just the way it was. And now the market is just completely upside down, where it's there's so much competition, and now People are outbidding people way above asking price, as we said. It's just a completely different animal right now.
I gotta say, man, I'm grateful that we actually closed around the time we did, because it's it's really crazy.
Yeah, no, funny enough, remember we bought the first house we looked at.
Yeah, we bought the first house we looked at. That's actually crazy. We never really talk about this. And people probably think we're crazy. Like, you bought the first house?
Yeah, but
you looked at? How?
When we explain why? Like, because it's a multifamily.
Yeah.
It was a great deal in a great area. Mm-hmm. And the cash flow
kind of crazy.
So very crazy. Cash flow is amazing. And you have to also understand that it was hard to see any other cribs because, like I said, the pandemic just hit. Mm-hmm. So we bought the first crib we looked at, and right now it's doing well. It's doing pretty well. So, it was a good financial decision.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. We had our hurdles. We had to do a renovation while the tenant was living in there, and there was a lot of back and forth.
Crazy.
We had our trials. We got through it, but the pandemic, like we said, definitely made things way more difficult than it needed to be. And we're just happy it's at the tail end now. Buying during the pandemic also means that you probably benefited from the price rise. Yeah. Obviously, we're seeing a very inflated market right now. It's a seller's market. A lot of properties doing very well right now in terms of evaluation. If you bought during the pandemic, or especially during the height, you probably bought at a good low comparative to right now. It's probably been a good time for you in your net worth.
Yeah, and Chima, even talk a little bit about this house which we're shooting in the studio right now. You bought this house way before the pandemic, I think a year or two before the pandemic. And how has that been for your property value since it's a seller's market right now? It's hot.
Yeah, that's interesting. See, for me, like this property, it's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. Bought it for $274 in 2019, and now it's priced for $340 to $360. That's insane.
That's a big jump, man. That's a big jump. So as you can see, as someone who bought a house, this is not the same multifamily we're talking about. This is a house that Chima bought before. Yeah. And you can just see how much value or how much the house is worth now, just as off of this craziness that's going on in the seller's market right now, which is actually insane. So that's gonna it's really good for like refinancing too.
Oh yeah, I'm in the process of doing that myself right now. With interest rates this low, it's kind of insane if you don't at least look at what your refinancing options are, especially if you have PMI. Like if you bought a house within the last couple of years and you've seen this price rise again, either during the pandemic or especially before the pandemic, and you had PMI, this is the perfect time to consider refinancing. Because all of my refinancing options, none of them include PMI because the equity is just easily there now.
You want to talk real quick what PMI is?
Oh yeah, so PMI is if you don't have 20% equity in the house and you're doing a loan like an FHA loan, or you only have to put 3.5% down, you get charged like a PMI, a property mortgage insurance. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's like there's just a fee that gets incorporated into your mortgage payment every month that doesn't even affect your principal in terms of making it go down. So it's just an extra fee that you have to keep paying because you don't have 20% equity in the house. Yeah. But if the market is now in flux and the property values are rising, now you have more equity in the house if you refinance. So again, perfect time to refinance.
Cons, man. Let's talk about those who are trying to buy a house.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. But then lost their job. Like that's it's crazy. A lot of those people could not buy a house anymore. And they was cracking down. They got a little stricter during the pandemic on a lot of mortgages.
Yeah, the qualifications are insane, and people always they have to realize that with the pandemic, there came so many different factors. There were furloughs, budget cuts. That resulted in layoffs. So you may have just been in the process of trying to buy a house and your life situation changed. And we know how underwriting is. We know how this process is. Oh, something changed. But when you're buying a house, you're not even supposed to get a credit card. Yeah. If you get a credit card, that's a red flag. Yeah. And you're gonna say that your job situation changed. That's gonna throw a wrench in your plans.
It affected a lot of people. Another con though, a con that we personally experienced was just delays in projects. Oh my gosh. COVID dragged our renovation project. And like we said, when we bought a house, it was not a turnkey. It was definitely a fixer-upper. So we had a lot of renovations to do, from the floors to ripping out a bathroom to adding a whole nother bathroom into one unit. It took some time. It took way longer than we thought it would. especially with COVID. COVID just made everything just
it's all about the contract.
I mean, our contract, he kind of caught it.
Yeah.
Not kind of, it kind of spread amongst the other people working on the job too. So that caused some big delays, caused some complications too.
And when we say big delays, we're talking about months.
We're talking about months, man. We're
months
talking about months. Yeah.
So, Can you imagine your head contractor gets COVID, then his team gets COVID, and now people are in the hospital. Like there were so many delays. It's insane.
And mind you, having a delay costs money. Like that's an opportunity cost, and everything. So just think about that. It's a crazy time, man. It's a crazy time.
It wasn't even just the contractors. It was everything. Inspections.
Yeah.
There was delays for inspections. Like you make an appointment, probably take a couple of weeks just to get an appointment, and when it happened, you were finally grateful. How many appointments did we even have to make? I don't even remember now. I just think everything was just always not now. It was always weeks in the future.
Yeah, definitely crazy. And another thing, man, it's crazy because just throughout COVID, we've seen people were purchasing houses without even looking, coming there physically to look at them because of COVID, And that's a con. It's this. You always want to come and see it if you can, or send a representative to see it if you can. But a lot of things I've seen, a lot of pictures were being taken and things like that.
You got to socially distance.
You have to socially distance, and God forbid, someone's living there currently. You couldn't just come into somebody's house. People didn't even know what COVID really was. It's like, what? You can't come in here.
I know. Interestingly enough, people are buying homes now without seeing them either. It's because it's for a completely different reason now. It's because the market is insane. People are really competing with cash buyers, and for you to secure the house that you want, and even if the deal, you may not like it, you may not have even seen the property, but you just need that property, and you're buying without even seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about competition, because I feel like people don't really grasp a little bit when you say competition. So I mean, you got to think, for a seller, it's always in their best interest to sell the house as fast and the simplest way possible. So the simplest way possible is to sell with someone who has all of the money.
Yep.
All of the money right now. So cash buyers right now are winning. We're seeing cash buyers who have been sleeping, just sitting on cash for years, just coming out the woodwork right now, purchasing homes.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, man. Competition plays a huge role in anything real estate. So that's absolutely a huge part of the market.
Especially when if you're an FHA buyer and there's inspections that come along and there's different types of restrictions and agreements that has to be made versus you're a cash buyer. You have to think about it as a seller, which one are you going to lean towards more? You're going to lean towards the cash buyer. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, what's the status now? So it's 2021, we're wrapping, 2020 wrapped up. We're in the new year. We're months into the new year. But, some things are the same, some things are different right now. But one thing we know right now that is the market's still hot for sellers right now. It is still a seller's market right now.
But you know what else is hot? That subscribe button. Please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. I hear it's free. Hit that share button. It really does help the channel out a lot.
Yep.
And show this to your friends. What are your friends' thoughts about this whole situation about buying property? What are your thoughts about buying property during the pandemic? Have you bought anything? What has your experience been? Leave any and all thoughts in the comment section down below.
Yeah.
And see you on the next one. Peace.